What is up, church family? Welcome to this past Sunday, our very first podcast episode, where we have a special guest, Pastor Jason. Gonna have him answer some questions about himself, get to know him.
Sounds great.
All right, Pastor Jason, getting right into it. Tell me about your call to ministry.
Okay. Thanks for asking, AJ, and appreciate all the questions everyone from the church has been asking as well. For me, I didn't become a Christian until really the summer before I was going into high school. Between that 8th grade and 9th grade years when I gave my life to Christ. Yeah. And it was at a summer camp that I used to go to back up in Wisconsin, where I'm from. And it was a summer camp that was called Alive Camp. It was there that I first believed in Jesus, gave my life to him. And it was also there a couple years later, between my sophomore and junior year, where I really felt like God was calling me into ministry. Oh, wow. I remember the service that we were having that night. The preacher for that service was preaching on Isaiah chapter 6. Mm-hmm. And in Isaiah chapter 6 is where Isaiah gets his call into ministry. And so in that chapter, Isaiah sees the Lord. He has this vision of being brought into the Lord's presence. And God asked him the question of who's going to go and give his message to the people of Israel. And Isaiah says, "Here I am, send me." And the Lord touches his lips with a burning coal, purifies him, and then he gives him the commission to go and preach, even though they're not going to hear, and they're not going to see, they're not going to understand, but to go and do it anyway and to be faithful in that calling. Yeah. And I remember as we were praying at the end of that service, the preacher asked for anyone who felt like they were called to ministry to go forward. And I remember just the burning within me that I knew that this was God's calling on my life. And I went forward and prayed. And there at the altar, I think the Lord laid me out, slain in the spirit, they used to call it, or resting in the spirit. Just the overwhelming heaviness and presence of God touching my life. I remember my lips burning, feeling my lips burning. Wow. And just knew that this was what God wanted me to do. Now, I kind of wrestled with it for a while, though, because I had my own plans. That's what we always do, right? We always have our own plans of what we want to do with our life, and I had plans. I wanted to be a marine biologist or marine archaeologist. I had studied this in school. I had gone on some trips down to the Florida Keys, all the way from Wisconsin to snorkel and scuba dive and off some reefs and some shipwrecks down there, and so I had my plan laid out that I wanted to be, on the sea. That was going to be my career, and so I really struggled with it. I even had applied to University of Miami to go to school there and to study there. Was accepted, and eventually I got to the point during my senior year of high school where things kind of came to a head, and just felt like God brought me to an experience one weekend where he just asked me, "Are you going to follow me or not?" Yeah, and it was kind of tough because it's almost like he let me experience what it might have been like without him in my life. Yeah. And it was devastating, and I just realized it was so much easier not to struggle and go my own way and just listen to him. So I changed my plans and ended up going to Bible college, went to Asbury College. Yep. It was called college back then. It's university now. Went there and studied Bible, and then went on to seminary. And so I finished seminary in 1999. So college in 1996, seminary in 1999. And through the whole process, I was starting what they call candidacy in the United Methodist Church. Yeah. Since I was part of the United Methodist Church at that time. Mm-hmm. So I was starting into ministry there, and my home church was sponsoring me. They helped with some scholarships, and the Wisconsin Conference helped with some scholarships for seminary. That's awesome. It was one of those things that, you have to go back to Wisconsin, so it's a scholarship and not a loan, which is what a lot of places do. So we went back. So my plan after going to college and seminary and getting my Master's of Divinity degree was to go back to Wisconsin to start my career in ministry there to start pastoring.
Awesome.
So that was back in 1999, the summer of 1999, when I was first, they called it commissioned back then.
Yeah.
And I was commissioned as a pastor and sent to a local church in Randolph, Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
Two little churches that I had out in the country there. And so I've been pastoring since 1999. So that's I'm going 26 years now.
26 years. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That was a long time.
It is. But
Wow.
I've served a few different places. I had 2 appointments up in Wisconsin. I was in Randolph for 3 years, and went to another town in northern Wisconsin called Antigo, where I was for 6 years. Then our whole family moved down to Georgia, and was at Antioch Church outside Adel
Okay.
for 6 years. McRae United Methodist Church for 6 years, and then I was sent here to Bon Air
Wow.
in the middle of COVID.
Yep.
It was a challenging time to come to
I
a church,
bet.
but yeah,
I bet.
I've been here since 2020.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, we're lucky to have you.
I appreciate that.
And I know in your story you were talking about the book of Isaiah and your calling. So I was wondering if that has anything to do with your favorite book in the Bible.
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, I do love Isaiah because of how that experience resonates in my life. My favorite book in the Bible is that's tough. I love the Gospel of John because the Gospel of John is so easy to understand, and it's a great place to start if you're not really studying the Bible and you really want to get into the Bible. Gospel of John is a great place to start. Gives you a great understanding of the life of Jesus and who he is.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite book out of the Bible, out of all of them, would actually be the Gospel of Matthew.
Really?
Probably because it's the gospel that I've studied the most in my life.
Yeah.
Going back to a class in seminary I took on Matthew. I spent a lot of time, that whole semester studying it, reading it from beginning to end. We had to read it from like the first verse to the last verse for one of our assignments the first week
my
of class. Sat down and spent a few hours doing that.
Yeah.
And then just the professor really kind of broke it down and structurally and theologically, and so I think that's probably my favorite one because I feel like I have maybe the best grasp
Yeah. Okay.
on that, and I love how it connects. Not only how it tells the story of Jesus, but how it connects it to the Old Testament roots.
Yeah.
Because I've always loved the Old Testament too, and try to bring that into my preaching and ministry as well. So Matthew's a good bridge for that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, seeing as that's your favorite book, your favorite verse wouldn't happen to be in there, would it?
Actually, no.
Of course.
Probably doesn't make sense, I guess.
No, yeah.
I was called from Isaiah. I like Matthew, but my favorite verse actually comes from Jeremiah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a verse that a lot of people have for their life verse. But it's Jeremiah 29:11.
Yeah. Okay.
It's for I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord.
Yeah.
Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope in the future. And that actually goes back to before I was called in ministry.
Really?
That's one of the verses that really spoke to me when I first became a Christian.
Okay. Yeah.
And I figured if that's the kind of God we serve, he's worth following.
Yeah.
And then took a while to figure out how to do that, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's really good. Taking a little bit of a segue, we had someone ask a really good question. Why is it important to get plugged into a church?
That is a great question.
Yeah, I think especially nowadays, like a lot of people think it's okay not to go to church and just do a lot of online stuff. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I always think about that kind of like I think about friendship.
Okay.
I remember when social media was first coming out because I am that old. I remember when it was first coming out, people would talk about, I've got, 1,000 friends on Facebook and I've got, 1,500 friends on Facebook. And it was almost like this competition to get as many friends, I guess, probably followers now and things like that. But I remember asking people, I said, do you really know all those friends? Do you really have a relationship with them?
Yeah.
And most of the time, it's just people kind of following one another just to see what's going on, filling their feeds and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we use the word friend, but it's not really a friendship. There may be a few in there that are friendships,
Yeah.
but it's not real relationships. And I think that's one of the things that our society is kind of finding out right now is that you can do a lot of things online,
Yeah.
but it's not the same quality. It's not the same level as in person. So when I think about church and why people should connect to a church, it's because it's that real relationship that you can have. It's you can hear a sermon online, you can listen to a great podcast, and you can get a lot of great information, but you can't really have a real interaction with the person that's talking to you. You have to be in person. You have to spend time, build relationship with them to have that. And when we have that real relationship, I think that's something that we're kind of made for. And it's one of our longings within our heart that we need that kind of community. We need that kind of connection.
Yeah.
And so connecting to a church, you get relationships with one another. Within the church, you get people that will pray for you and support you and encourage you. And people that you can do the same for. Because we're not just made to receive, we're made to give in relationships as well. But then also connecting to a church and getting involved in a church also gives you access to an even greater relationship, and that's that authentic experience of Jesus, of encountering Jesus. Because when we meet together and the presence of the Lord is here, you can encounter him in a different way. I mean, most of us have a personal time in our life where we have met Jesus, and we know that he was there in that moment of prayer, in that moment of beautiful revelation, or outside we may have had a moment where we felt especially close to the Lord. But I think when we gather in community and when we worship together and pray together and study together, we encounter Christ at a deeper level. And I think that's something we're made for as well too. And that's one of the things we always try to focus on here at the church is we really want people to have that authentic experience of Christ.
Yeah, definitely.
Whatever it is we're doing, whether it's worship on a Sunday morning or our Bible studies or different connection groups that we have here, our man church, our women's ministries. I mean, we just want people to experience Jesus. Yeah. Because he's the only one who can change us, and he's the only one that can take this person that thought I was going in that direction in my life, and I was going to be at sea. I was going to be the marine biologist. It's only Jesus that can bring me to this point. Amen. And it's only Jesus that can really change our hearts and change us and bring us to what he created us to be in the first place. Yeah. And I think that's what we all want. Definitely. Yeah. And that happens as we meet together and as we gather together. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, taking a little bit of another segue off of that one, that was a really great deep dive into that answer, by the way. Sure. Thanks. What is your favorite disciple? Who is your favorite disciple or apostle? Ooh. Another tough one. Yeah, that is. That's not something I've thought about before. So I appreciate the person that submitted that question too. Of course, since I love the Gospel of Matthew, Matthew's a great, a great one, a great disciple. I don't know if anyone else has been watching The Chosen, but I've been watching The Chosen since it came out, and the portrayal of Matthew in that series really kind of caught me off guard at first. Yeah. To kind of put him on, I guess probably the autism spectrum is what I think they were aiming for with that character. But how the character of Jesus used that in his character and showed that it wasn't a flaw or a mistake. It was something beautiful that God could use. I've really enjoyed that, and it's made me actually wonder if that may have been true, because Matthew does so much more attention to detail than some of the other Gospels. The the exact number of fish that Peter and James catch or something. You know, he reports the details that everyone else misses, and he makes all those connections into the past, into the Old Testament, which is interesting from a former tax collector who, you know, spent most of his life cut off from his faith because of being a tax collector. So Matthew's interesting. I love Matthew as a disciple. Now, not technically a disciple, but he's called an apostle in the Gospels. I love Paul too.
Oh yeah,
and just the tenacity of Paul, that he was willing to suffer everything that he did when he lists, you know, the numbers of times he was shipwrecked and stoned and beaten and whipped and all those things for Christ. I mean,
Paul's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he is, and that tenacity is just awe-inspiring. It's intimidating sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I love what kind of looking at his life, even more than looking at his writings, but looking at his life and what he was willing to endure for the sake of the gospel, and what he did, and his passion for sharing Jesus with people, and his goal of, I mean, for his whole life, he had his goal was set on Rome. He was going to preach in Rome. He was going to tell even the emperor about Jesus, and it took a long time to get there, but you know, according to history, he actually had his chance.
Very true.
Didn't go as well as he wanted to, but you know, still, you got to admire. Admire what the way God used him.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that is all of the questions we have for you today, Pastor Jason.
All right. Well, I've enjoyed this, AJ.
Yeah, good. I really hope that we can get together some more. You know, this wouldn't be possible without all of you guys' questions. So we are very appreciative of everyone who dropped a question off. Like Pastor Jason was answering a question earlier about getting looped into a church, make sure you guys are getting looped in. We have some great midweek videos that get posted on the Facebook for you guys to watch, see what's going on at the church, and get in this wonderful building. So
yeah, make sure you come out and join us too. Come and experience worship here and experience that relationship with Christ. We would love to have you on a Sunday morning. We'd love to have you come to our services at either 9 or 10:30. I think you're going to find it's a wonderful place here, wonderful people, and a great opportunity to really experience an authentic encounter with Jesus, and that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yes, and amen. God is definitely moving here. So we look forward to seeing you guys next time. That's all we've got today.
All right, take care.